Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Rusty. Catherine Davis is up on the stage 2 weeks in a row to give us our invocation.
Please join me in prayer. Father God in heaven, your blessings overflow and are unceasing for us Rotarians and our guests assembled here today. We are most thankful for your giving us robust health to make life and work a joy, all blessings for which we thank you. It is our joy and purpose to be a blessing to others in your sight by passing abundant love and kindness on to others. We are most grateful for wealth and determination to support those in need by making each day so much better than the day before. Thank you for providing us strength and unrestrained spirit to overcome all obstacles and continuous optimism to banish all doubts. Thank you so very much for giving us grace to overcome and forgive any transgressions and patience to remain calm during our storms. We thank you for the mighty love that enables us to conquer all while maintaining respect for each other and this beautiful earth, that we may forgive past wrongs and exude passion for new beginnings. Above all, thank you for each and every miracle that you bestow upon us, that we know that your final victories come from hope, faith, love, and gratitude. We ask that you continue to unleash the power within each of us today and every day, so that we can touch the lives of others in endless and incredible ways. We now give blessings and thanks for the food that we receive today, and blessings and thanks to those who prepare it for us each week. May it strengthen and nourish our bodies. These blessings and so many more we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Catherine. Now I'm going to ask Don Ryle to come up and introduce our visiting Rotarians and guests. Don, if you'll make your way up. And while she's on the way up here, please don't forget your cart buckets. You can certainly place a cash contribution or coins, as the name says, in the cart buckets. Thank you for holding it up, Cynthia. You can also write a reminder to yourself and write a check to CART, C-A-R-T, and place it in if you don't like to give every week. So. Okay. No problem at all. No problem at all. Okay. Do we have any visiting Rotarians today? If you would, please stand up if I can get somebody to walk around with a microphone.
Good evening. I actually have a visiting guest, and Pam Bino Reed, if you would stand, please. Pam's a former Rotarian who's interested in getting back in a club. She's also has a background in public relations and marketing. Former employee at SCANA who is currently looking for a job. And so make sure you talk to Pam after the meeting today. Thank you.
Any other guests? I did not get a list of visiting Rotarians, but please.
I'm Dottie Park, and I'm pleased to have with me today student Dr. Sterling Blakely. Dr. Blakely is an extern at University of Alabama School of Optometry in Birmingham, Alabama, where she'll graduate in May.
I'm Jerry Bright. Today I'm pleased to have with me Odessa Brinkman. Odessa has turned in her application to join our organization today.
Well, thank you all for being here today to hear from our distinguished speaker. We are going to take, like we did last week, we're going to take 4 or 5 minutes to network at your tables and to socialize. And so if you have any business you need to transact, please do that in the next 4 or 5 minutes. Thank you.
No offense. Big-eyed bird is not the name, right? What's the name of your outfit? What? That's right.
I just tried to
Well, I would consider it a promotion if I heard it.
I just think you better.
Would you mind?
Of course not.
Not just with me, but anybody else.
Anybody else?
You'll hear we've got a new Instagram account that I'll be posting all this on. So if you wouldn't mind, when it switches off, think of District 7770
Okay.
00. That's my number.
Okay. So 3730.
wouldn't mind.
No, not at all. Well, I think
Good morning.
so it looked like you had a pretty fantastic your instrument sounds okay. All right, now you gotta ring it.
Maybe really ring the bell a little louder next time. Thank you, Karen. I've invited past President John Bakes to come and talk to you all briefly for about 2 minutes about the upcoming Cart Gala. John, make your way up here.
Wow, this guy's tall. Look at this. I'm going to have to lower it down a little bit. Thank you for letting me come up here again and twist your arm about the gala, our Alzheimer's gala. As some of you may or may not know, Ken Morris, who's a longtime committed Rotarian in Columbia, former district governor, member of Spring Valley Rotary Club, has Alzheimer's disease. And it's a sad thing because he is a very kind, wonderful gentleman. But I called another fellow I know in Spring Valley Rotary, trying to encourage him to get Spring Valley Rotary to do something special in honor of Ken. And I called my friend Charles Kirkies, and I think probably some of you know Charles. He's been an active guy in our community. And I said, Charles, I need your help with this Alzheimer's deal. And he said, funny you should call. He said, my wife's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And the irony of it all is he's been a great CART supporter. Ken Morris has been probably the most committed CART supporter in the Midlands over the years. And it has no mercy on those, even those of us who are trying to raise money. So I ask you again, this is a club that can make things happen. We can be major supporters of this event through sponsorships and through attendance. So I hope that you will think about doing that. I'll be around a little bit afterwards if you want to speak to me about how you get committed to it. But we need to be committed, and I'm really grateful that David, our new district governor, is here today because he's a committed CART person, and I'm glad he's here, and hopefully he will inspire you too. But it's something we need to do. It's really important. Our goal for this year, the CART board has set a goal of grants of $1 million, and so we're all going to have to raise extra money to make that happen. They want to put out grants of $1 million. They have 50 to 60 grant requests every year, and they can only fund 4 or 5. And they say there are so many really good grants out there that need to be funded. We've just got to pick up the pace, and we've got to raise more money. So thanks for your help, and I appreciate anything you can do.
Thank you, John. Thank you for taking it upon yourself to chair that effort for our club, and we appreciate all the passion you have for that cause. John Asman is going to come and deliver our health and happiness today. John?
Thank you, President Steve. Good afternoon, and it's good to gather together here this Monday and look forward to hearing from our district governor. I talked with him shortly before the meeting, and I had a hard time hearing a couple of the words he pronounced, but we'll get through that. You'll see what I mean. In checking with our health and happiness, as I was at the front desk, a couple of things. Dot Ryle mentioned something to me. Many of you are aware down at Maxie Gregg Park area in the town, in our city, there's the Cancer Survivors Garden. And she mentioned that the city, I guess, had put a fence around there that kind of was restrictive, and it was kind of a surprise. But after a call by Dot Ryle, about a week later, that fence was down, and now there's a parking area. So if you are going down that area, you would turn off of Blossom Street into the Cancer Survivors Garden. There's a place to park, and it's very convenient now. So thanks, Dot, and thanks, Mayor Benjamin. Michael Kahn mentioned, where's Michael? He's back in town. He has done Europe for 30 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we'll have a future program about makeups and all the good times.
Yep.
All right, good. Are they worse for the wear over there now, or you left it in good shape?
Yeah, it's okay. They'll survive.
There's no wine left in the whole of your.
Also, if this is a note of continuing to keep in your prayers, is the wife of Edwin Davis. If you'll just keep her in your prayers, that would be much appreciated. And when I ask folks, how you have any health and happiness news, do you know what the most frequent response is? I'm healthy and I'm happy. All right. So thank you. You'll be aware of that. I was thinking if there were any honors that or recognitions, and as I did that, I looked up. There's a quote from Mark Twain. It's better to deserve honors and not have them than to have them and not deserve them. So, from Mark Twain. And so on the order of happiness, or excuse me, health, I thought, well, let's check our brain health a little bit today. And this may come under trivia, it may come up under some historical facts. So how's your brain history, your history of this date and past years? In 1790, on this date, our U.S. Congress, not our U.S., the U.S. Congress passed the resolution, the permanent capital of the U.S. will be Washington, D.C. That was in 1790. Okay, so obviously that's where it is. But can any of you name the 8 other cities that were prior to that or capital of the United States? Just tell me. Huh? New York, that's correct. Correct. Did I hear knee case crossings? That's for the older folks there. Several in Pennsylvania, not Boston. I guess they call it Lancaster, Pennsylvania, not Lancaster. Is that correct?
Yes.
York, Pennsylvania, not South Carolina. Princeton, New Jersey. Annapolis, Maryland. And Trenton, New Jersey. Little known facts of where your U.S. capital was. Now, at one time, they were not, depending on the timing, it was not capital of the United States because part of that time it was colonies. But that's where the Congress met. Let's see. Okay. Another matter, has anybody here in the city of Columbia received a parking ticket when the meter expired? Oh, come on. I think that's about $8. Well, I know it is. On this day in 1935, the first automatic parking meter was installed in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Now, unofficially, it wasn't noted there, but I think that on that same day in 1935, the first expired parking meter ticket was issued. And the ticket then, if it's $8 in Columbia now, it would have been about 45 cents in Oklahoma in 1935. And my next note on this date is going to lead to a connection to Columbia. This was kind of surprised me. But on this day in 1945, and many of our veterans will probably remember this, was the first test detonation out in New Mexico of the atomic bomb. It was part of the Manhattan Project. And nuclear disarmament continues to this day to be a topic of discussion. Now here's the connection to Columbia. In 1987, there was a film that's related to that topic of nuclear disarmament. And a key actor in that film, out of Hollywood, was none other than our Columbia friend Alex English. Can anybody name the film that Alex starred in? Nobody. This is, what was it? Oh. Amazing Grace and Chuck. It's a great flick. At least you got it? All right, good. You can get it off of Amazon. I don't think you can download it on Netflix, probably Amazon. It's about a little league baseball pitcher named Chuck, and he refuses to ever, and he was a star pitcher, like an all-star baseball pitcher in the league, and he refused to pitch again until all the nuclear, at that time it was the missiles in the silos, until they were eliminated. And it's really a good, fun flick. I say flick because one of Alex English's nicknames is Flick, but I see him when we tailgate, and so I call him Amazing Grace now because he was the player that was in that. So other people that were in that film, in addition to our headliner, Alex English, was Gregory Peck and Jamie Lee Curtis, and Red Auerbach, the basketball coach. Last date question here. On this date, in 1969, I want you to think, 1969. There's nobody, you think about where you were, what you might have been doing about that time. On this date, Apollo 11 was launched to the moon. They carried the men that would walk on the moon. So I'm expecting later this week, on whatever the 20th is, that's when 2 U.S. astronauts walked on the moon. So your next test is, what were their names? Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, correct. Okay. You did pretty good. Your brains are healthy. I think it's a cute little joke I'd share with you here. A young man was walking through a supermarket to pick up a few things. When he noticed this elderly lady kind of followed him around the grocery store. Thinking nothing of it, he just ignored her and continued to shop and move on. Finally, when he went to the checkout line, this elderly lady stepped right in front of him. And she said, "Pardon me, young man. I'm sorry if my staring at you made you feel uncomfortable, but it's just that you look exactly like my son, who is living very far away from here." And he says, "Oh, gosh," she says, "I'm very sorry." The young man replies, "Is there something I could do for you?" And she says, "Yes," she says, as I'm leaving out of the store, could you just kind of wave and say, 'Goodbye, Mom?' It made me feel so much better." He said, "Sure, I'll do that." So as the elderly lady was leaving, he yelled out, "Goodbye, Mom." And when he stepped up the cash register, he saw that his total was $127.50. "How can that be? I only purchased a few things." And the clerk replied, "Your mother said you would pick up her bill." I have a wonderful week. Oh, and remember, in your buttons, be the inspiration. I think there's some buttons on your table.
Thank you, John. Thanks for all the preparation that went into that. That was really good. A couple of club announcements today. You'll notice that we have these slides rotating. Cynthia Giles put that together for us. She's our new public image chair this year. I think many of you have already met Cynthia. She's doing a really good job. One of our goals is to improve communication. So please take a look at these slides. That's a good way for us to communicate on a lot of topics that we have to cover. One of the slides up there, I've seen it come through, is about the DAC-DB. For those of you who don't know what the DAC-DB is, that stands for District and Club Database. And about every 3 or 4 years, there's a groundswell in this club that says, hey, we need to print a directory. We need to have a hard copy member directory. And one thing we can do to avoid that cost and the fact that the directory is outdated the moment it's printed is to access the district and club database. It's very easy to do. There's instructions on how to do it up on the screen. We're also going to include that on the website and in our Rotary newsletter announcements, so be on the lookout for that. A couple other things. The fireside chat is scheduled for July 30th for all new members. We went back and invited all new members that have been inducted since July 1st, 2016. If you've never been to a fireside chat and you were inducted prior to that, we would still love to have you come. It's July 30th at the Kings Grant Clubhouse from 6 to about 7:15, 7:30. We're going to have a good time. Cocktails, hors d'oeuvres, should be fun. Lastly, I'm going to invite past district governor past president and our most recent Rotarian of the Year up front to introduce our distinguished guests. And while she's on the way up, I would also like to introduce Eric Davis. Many of you still remember Eric. He used to be a member of our club. He's moved on and joined the Vista Knights Club, and then worked his way up into the leadership hierarchy of Rotary, and he's now our assistant governor. So welcome, Eric. We're glad you could be here today. And we'll turn it over to you.
I just want to, before I get started, I'm going to take a little privilege here to tell you, they mentioned Ken Morris. When I became president of this club in 1999-2000, at that time we had one cart bucket sitting out front. And the previous year, I think we raised about $300. So I talked to Ackerman, I can't call his name, I know him real well, wife's name's Deanie. Anyway, and
Roger.
thank you. And I said, I need some extra cart buckets. He said, I'm Indian E. I said, I needed one for every table in our club. And so we did that, and I had a person on my team that year that gave me a cart, or gave me an Alzheimer's fact. And so I always just did that one sentence when I started the club meeting. We went from 398 to 99-2000, we raised 3,000. So I simply tell y'all that to say our club can really step up to the plate. And if you don't know Ken Morris, he was an outstanding past district governor, and just a fabulous guy. So I surely support Stephen Creech and all of our club as we move forward. So I don't normally read introductions. I just generally tell you about the person. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is I think the world of David Tirard. He is just an incredible guy. But he had his installation not too long ago in Hilton Head, and I was there. And the person who was emceeing was a past district governor, Bernie Rydell. And he gave information about David that I didn't know. And I said, you know, if I didn't know that, having known him as long as I have, I bet a lot of other people don't either. So because of that, I'm going to share actually what Bernie Rydell shared when we were all together for David's installation. And you will figure this out very quickly when I first tell you that David was born in Plymouth, England. And his father was a naval officer, and he had one brother and one sister. He lived in Hong Kong and in Malta while his father was in the Royal Navy. He entered Plymouth College boarding school at age 11, where he excelled in rugby, field hockey, and throwing the discus. Upon graduation, he joined Barclays Bank, and his first job at Barclays was to make the tea in the morning for the staff. Quickly realizing this was not why he joined the bank, he started adding a bit of coffee to each cup of tea. The staff complained about the awful tea, and David was quickly moved to another department. So, as you can see, he also has a great sense of humor. In England, there's an organization, which I'd never heard of, called the Round Table, which in philosophy and mission, quote unquote, is very similar to Rotary, except members are required to leave the organization at age 40. David held every position in the club, including, quote, parachute jumper. I'm not quite sure what that really is, parachute jumper, or what it means, but you can ask him about that after the meeting. At age 40, David was given the opportunity to move to Zambia and work as a bank inspector and auditor. This was the first time he was exposed to abject poverty, tribalism, the lack of clean water, and illiteracy. Upon returning to England, he found Rotary. Unfortunately, at that time, classifications were severely limited, and he was never able to join a club. He instead involved himself with the Lions Club and Guide Dogs for Fun. He retired from Barclays Bank after 34 years and moved to the United States in 2001 and then to Hilton Head Island in 2002, where he got serious about golf and actually achieved a single-figure handicap. At the same time, David met past District Governor Sandy Brooks. She invited him to a Rotary meeting in 2003, and the rest is history. David has served in Hilton Head at his club as club president of the Hilton Head Island Rotary Club, then the AG for Area 4 and District Paul Harris Society Chair, and District Governor-elect. Please help me welcome one of the nicest district governors we've ever had in District 7770, David Tirard.
Thank you so very much. Good afternoon to the largest club in District 7770. That story about Zambia is absolutely true about how that touched me in my working life. Just picture yourself as a 40-year-old going to a country that you've never been to before, being a bank auditor in a country that is corrupt, where you're spending half your day catching crooks the other side of the counter and half the day catching crooks your side of the counter. Not a pretty sight. You travel to branches all over the country, 300 miles away, what have you. 2-lane highways, which aren't really 2 lanes, they're 1 lane because the sides of the road are broken away, and you've got potholes down the middle, and the first thing you're told when you're driving your bank car is put your foot flat on the floor and drive as fast as you can, because then you can jump the potholes. But while you're doing that, you have to be very careful not to run over the local population, because they're walking everywhere. They don't have cars. They're walking. There'll be a child walking with the only pair of shoes that the family's got. If they're the little child, the shoes look perfectly normal. If they're the large child, he's kicked the back of the heels down so they can slip them on like slippers, because they have to have a pair of shoes to go to school. You see the women walking with a bucket on the top of their head, filthy bucket, going to a filthy pond to pick up filthy water to take home. At home, my home, the Barclays Bank house that I was given to use, I'm behind a 6-foot wall with glass on the top and a guard on the gate day and night, because we were the haves and everybody else was the haves not. If that doesn't get through to you, it certainly got through to me, and when I got back and I came to the US, I'd already been involved, as Anne said, in Round Table, which is just like this. But you could be a club member without actually being a real Rotarian or a real Round Tabler. I became a real Rotarian from that moment, even though I hadn't even joined Rotary. So some may question, why does the district governor come to visit? Well, I'll put your mind at rest straight away. I'm not here to tell you what to do. That's not my job. In fact, my job is to be your biggest cheerleader. I want to hear your good stories, I want to hear what you've done, and I want to give you the biggest round of applause I can ever do, because it's not about me. The reason I'm here today is because when I joined Rotary, someone once said to me, the only time you're allowed to say no in Rotary is when you're asked to join. And I'm dumb enough to believe that and keep saying yes when people ask me to move up the train. So I'm here as district governor, running around to 79 clubs and 2 satellite clubs, meeting delightful people like you, and feeling very proud to be part of this organization. We have a Rotary International president, we have zones, we have directors, we have district governors, we have people in charge. But you know, however important they may think they are, they're not. The people that are important in Rotary are you. Because you are the ones that do the work. You're the ones that understand your communities. You're the ones that find the things to do, the challenges to overcome, and you're the ones that go out there and make things happen. I will never sit here and say, look at me, I'm special. If you can put me to work somewhere with one of your projects, then you'll see a Rotarian at work. But my status has got nothing to do with anything. And I think the fact that you are doing a lot to get things done really is fantastic. I'm here on behalf of International President Barry Racing to share with you the theme for the year. Be the inspiration. Now, being the inspiration is not just for the leaders. It's for each and every one of you, because each and every one of you could be an inspiration to someone somewhere along the line. And the people you touch can then be further inspirations. In addition to this challenge by International President, I have my own theme, which may sound a little arrogant, but my theme is I want everybody to leave their footprint on the sands of time, which you'll see on that card that you have on your desk. Why did I use that? Which is from a poem, those of you who are literate will know that. Which I can't take credit for, my wife decided that. And she's known as she who must be obeyed, so you have to do what she tells you. But leaving your footprint on the sands of time talks about personal responsibility. I want every member of this club, no matter what they've done in the past, to say, this year, I'm going to do something. Even if you've done the most wonderful things in the past, you're still alive. Do some more, please. It's important. So take personal responsibility for what we're going to do. As President Barry said to the 530-something incoming district governors at our training event in San Diego, together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. Please note, he said, together we see a world. Working together achieves so much more than doing something on your own. Yes, if you've got an idea and you could go and make a wave, that's fine. But if everybody works together, you can create a tidal wave of change. And that's what I'm encouraging you to do. Working together also creates bonds of friendship, and I'm looking around the room and I'm sure there are members here who've been members for many years that have deep friendships for each other. And you know, those who work together stick together. And in this weather, sometimes literally, but... Now he also said, take action. And we all know that if you want something done, someone's got to lead and get up and take the lead. But then we have to get a bunch of people to follow through. He also mentioned lasting change. Now, we're not after a quick fix, folks. What we want to do is to make a real impression for enduring improvement to the communities that we're dealing with, so that you can walk away and say, I have achieved something which is sustainable, and I've made an impact that's going to last. That is your challenge today, please. And if you manage to do all that, and if you're working together and you're sweating together, excuse that word, the ladies gently glow, don't they, sorry. If you're working together and doing all that, you'll be amazed how much personal, quiet satisfaction you'll get out of that. I can tell you personally that I get involved in every single thing my club does, not because I'm a goody two-shoes, but because I like it, because I always get something out of it by doing something for somebody else. So as you look to put your footprint on the sands of time, what are you going to do? How are you going to do it? Let me tell you a quick story, if I may, about a member of my club, whom Anne knows. This gentleman gave the invocation for me at my installation. Norm Reeves is 102 years old. He's been in Rotary since 1945 and has 100% attendance. In fact, when he was being honoured by his church recently, and he wasn't at the meeting, and everyone was saying, where's Norm, where's Norm? They said, he's being honoured by his church, but don't worry, he made up at a local club earlier this week. It's not that I'm going to tell you about Norm, though. That's true service and commitment. About 5 years ago, I was running our club's efforts towards the PGA tournament down on Hilton Head. And I get a phone call from Norm saying, David, I think I'm getting a little old to be standing up at the front of a bus giving instructions. Bear in mind, he's mid-90s now. But I really need to do my Rotary duty. Can I come and work in Wilcourt with you and do some filing or something? Because I really need to play my part. Now I'll tell you, Norm is my inspiration. A true inspiration of service, way above self. And I want to say to all of you, I'm sure each and every one of you has the skills, the enthusiasm, the talent to be able to infuse and instill in somebody some sense of worth. I hope you'll do that. Now, as I travel the district, I'm going to encourage clubs to look at all the projects they have. Do many, many more if they can, but look at each project they have and say, is it relevant to today's world? The world is changing. When you're looking at your brand new project you're thinking of doing, make sure you do it well. Make sure you bring in people from outside the club. This is a 130-something, 230-something club. A lot of potential, but it doesn't stop you from bringing other people in as well. Because those people may think, gosh, this is a great organization. Why wouldn't I join them? Got to be careful about organization though, when you're pulling in a lot of people, because as we all know, a camel was a horse designed by a committee, so let's get things right. So how are you broadcasting your success to the world? We don't broadcast our success to the world, do we? Your story now.
Yeah.
Telling your story now. We believe in service above self, don't we? So we don't want to broadcast ourselves around. But we have to. Because there's nothing wrong with being quietly proud of what we do well and what we're doing to help others in the community. How many of you are reluctantly involved in social media? The hands went up very timidly, didn't they? Facebook? Okay. I would say that's about maybe half if we're lucky. How about Instagram? Oh, good. Now, Instagram is a medium that our younger people tend to use. I am told by my younger daughter, at age 40, who said, Dad, you guys need to get into the 21st century. If you haven't got an Instagram account, get one. So we've created one, which is why I'm carrying this thing around that you made for me, and it says, at Rotary District 7770. So those of you who have cell phones, by all means, stick it in there now. It's important that we tell the world what we're doing, because when we tell the world what we're doing, they're more inclined to come to us and support us either financially or as members. They're also the type of people that we need to be encouraging to come in, the younger members, because some of us are getting older. And while I may be in shape, because round is a shape, I'm not as strong as I was in my rugby days, and I can't do as much as I can do when we're doing stuff out in the community. So we need to bring young people in with new ideas, new energy, and new talents. How many of you read the Rotary magazine? Do you get a little tiny bit of sense of reflected pride in what we do worldwide? I certainly do. Now, at the risk of depressing a few of you, I'm going to quickly give you a few statistics. 45% of the developing world lives in extreme poverty. 13 million starve each year. 1 billion go to bed hungry. They'd have loved to have had a meal like this today. They've never seen a meal like this today. Every 3 seconds, a child dies from starvation. 1 billion have no access to basic health care. 2/3 of the children that die could have been saved had there been some basic health care around. 600,000 women die annually through lack of care. At any time in the world, in the developing countries, half the population is suffering from a waterborne illness. What about literacy? 2/3 of the developing world can't either read or do basic math. So why am I saying this to you? Shouldn't be depressing people on a Monday lunchtime. We've got much to do, that's why. Now, our Rotary Foundation, Rotary's charity, is what helps us fund all our 6 areas of focus. Anyone like to quote for me what the 6 areas of focus are? Peace and conflict prevention and resolution. Disease prevention and treatment. Water and sanitation. Maternal and child health. Basic education and literacy. And economic and community development. Are we all playing our part? are we all contributing to the Rotary Foundation? I'm sure you didn't join Rotary because you just wanted to have a nice lunch. You joined it because you have a feeling that you want to do something in the world. If you're like me, every time you pass a kettle with the Salvation Army, it's a bit like Pavlov's dogs. You hear the ring and you have to put something in the pot. So when you're giving to other charities, say to yourself, well, hang on a minute, Rotary's got a really, really good charity. 4 stars on Charity Navigator, 96% or 94% of it goes to the projects that we deal with. There aren't many charities that can boast that. I would encourage you all, please, to continue supporting it. I know you do. How many Paul Harris Society members are in the room? Look at that. Good stuff. Paul Harris Society, people who give $1,000 a year. Or as I like to say, $20 a week, because that's more palatable. Now, the tenacity of Rotary is amazing to me. And why am I mentioning tenacity at the moment? Polio plus. For over 30 years, we've been fighting this dreadful disease. And when we started, there were 350,000 cases a year. We are now down to, can I borrow a figure? 11. Sorry for waking him up, sorry. No, 11 cases. Now that is an amazing, amazing achievement, I hope you all agree. But we've got to finish the job. We made a promise to the children of the world, and when Rotarians make a promise, they keep their promises. So we have to keep funding it, whether we like it or not. We've already given over $1 billion to Polio Plus. Please keep encouraging, not just yourselves, but other people to do that. John talked about Alzheimer's today, and that is a dreadful disease as well. It's the 6th most dangerous disease we have in this country at the moment. And almost all of us will have been touched by somebody we know that has had some form of dementia. Our district target this year, just for our district, is $250,000. It's achievable if we all keep our mind to it, if we do put our pennies in the pot there. I did hear a nice story the other day where the gentleman said, well, coins for Alzheimer's research, we don't want to make a row, so when you get your coins out of your pocket, would you wrap it in a nice big note and put it in there so it doesn't make too much noise? I thought that was rather nice. Now each year the presidents are challenged to achieve citations. Excuse me, stealing your thunder, but you actually achieved the club leadership citation for last year. Citations are not about presidents. Citations are about you, because you are the ones that achieve them. I'm sure Stephen can't run around doing everything that we ask them to do. And why do we ask people to do that? We ask people to achieve a certain level of a variety of different things so that they are a robust and vibrant club. Now I've added 2 additional things into the citation this year that I really hope that you will support. The first one is little free libraries. How many people have heard of those? These are something you can make yourself, you can buy off the shelf, but you can actually make them. Probably stand about this big, shelves in, and you put books into them. You can do those yourself, or there's an organization you can partner with. And you put them typically into the poorer neighborhoods in your area. Get a rota together of people that are prepared to go and check on them once a week to make sure that the books are turning over and if they're emptying. How many people have got spare books at home that they're just hanging around? Lots. Just think about putting those to some real good. It's a really easy project to do, and it's very worthwhile for the people who receive it. The other thing I'd encourage you to do is to get involved in Rotary Rocks. That's R-O-C-S. Our club started that about 5 years ago. And what we said to our members was, on this given day, when in the future, and I'll tell you it's going to be March next year, we want every member to get out and do something for the community. Every single member. Remember Norm Reeves I was telling you about just now? He goes to volunteers in medicine and he helps put things in alphabetical order in a file because he's doing his duty. A club of this size could get involved in 10 or 15 different projects, helping out local non-profits or whatever it may be. And when you do it, make sure that your wonderful PI or PR lady, whichever you like, gets around and takes photographs, and you take photographs, and you put it out on the web, and you put it out in the world at large, and you get the local paper, and you get the local television to come and say, because this is a really important club that can make a real impact. Do that, and we'll be all part of rocking our neighborhood. Oops, too many pages. Informed Rotarians are the best Rotarians, and some of you may know we have 2 training events every year. Next one's scheduled for September the 14th in Charleston. We hated being in Charleston because the traffic's so appalling, but we can't get away from it at the moment. Those of you who've not been to the training events, please come. When you know what you're doing, you're able to do things better as a Rotarian. There's also Rotary Leadership Institute. And every time I go to one of these events, I say to myself, gosh, my club's good. When you hear how little or how uninformed some of the people who are you mix with, it's a great way of ruffling all your feathers and feeling good. What are district conferences? How many people go to district conferences? That's a bit poor, isn't it? Well, please come next year. Hilton Head Island is where it's going to be. And we're going to have a great time. And one of the things we're going to do is the Rise Against Hunger. Everybody's going to get together and start packaging some meals. We put thousands and thousands of meals together. But it's not just a boring conference. It's a way of meeting new friends, getting new ideas, celebrating what you do. And I'd really like your club to be Club of the Year. You'll have to work, because there's some darn good clubs around. I'd really like to see that and to celebrate that. No more pages. Aren't you lucky? Thank you so much for your kind attention. I do appreciate it. I'm looking around this room. I see some exciting faces and excited faces, so I've woken a few up. And I know you can all be an inspiration. I know you can all do something individually and collectively together. I'm looking forward to celebrating that with you, and thank you so very much for letting me be here.
District Governor David, thank you so much for all you're doing for our district. We chatted briefly before the meeting. He told me he's been to four meetings so far, and he's got 75 more to go and 2 satellite meetings. So he's just at the beginning of his year. We're very proud of all you're doing. Typically, we would give a coin or some Rotary swag to our speaker to thank them for coming, but I'm sure you have much more access to that kind of stuff than we do. So in your honor, and in honor of your visit, we're making a donation to the CART Fund. So thank you so much for what you're doing.
You're also giving something to me. I'm going to give something to you, Stephen. It's a chocolate footprint to remind you that you're going to make a footprint in the sands of time.
President-elect Louisa, who do we have coming next week?
Next week, we will, can you hear me?
Yes.
Next week, we have our very own John Monk, who will give us a journalist's point of view on fake news, vetting sources, and possibly touching on the ongoing corruption cases here in South Carolina. So don't miss, bring a guest.
That's a great program. summer.